Are you tired of thinking the same way? Are you stuck in a creative rut, feeling like your problem-solving skills are lacking? Do you want to unlock your brain's full potential? This video will equip you with practical techniques to flip your thinking on its head, challenge your assumptions, and open your mind to new possibilities. It will boost your mental agility, enhance your creativity, and help approach challenges with a fresh perspective. The comfort zone is a psychological space where our activities and behaviors fit a routine that minimizes stress and risk. It feels safe, predictable, and familiar, but when it comes to creativity and breakthrough thinking, this is a silent assassin. When you stay inside the comfort zone too long, your brain stops exploring. The mental muscles responsible for curiosity, experimentation, and risk-taking begin to atrophy. You default to automatic responses and your cognitive flexibility decreases. This may feel efficient, but it limits your potential to see alternative perspectives, brainstorm novel ideas, or approach problems in unexpected ways. In short, comfort breeds stagnation. Human brains love patterns. We're hardwired to look for them. It saves mental energy. Unfortunately, that same pattern recognition often becomes a trap. When you rely on the same mental templates to approach life, you subconsciously filter out anything that doesn't fit. For example, if you've always handled conflict by avoiding it, your brain will overlook assertive solution-focused approaches as not for you. You see what you've always seen and get what you've always gotten. This mental rigidity can cause you to miss out on better ideas, more effective solutions, or even life-changing opportunities simply because they don't match your usual way of thinking. Innovation rarely lives in the paved path. It waits on the trail you haven't walked yet. When you approach challenges using only your habitual mindset, you reduce your capacity for creative problem solving. You become reactive instead of proactive. Instead of designing new tools, you keep trying to fix things with the same old hammer, even when the job needs a wrench. Businesses that cling to old thinking models fall behind. Artists who refuse to evolve become irrelevant. Leaders who can't adapt become obstacles instead of visionaries. The truth is, thinking inside a metaphorical box doesn't just limit your innovation, it actively sabotages your ability to evolve. If you're only using the same mental tools, you're building the same house over and over again, even if it's falling apart. Assumptions are the invisible walls in our mental architecture. They frame how we interpret the world, how we judge others, and how we define what's possible. You may ask, what's the danger? Well, most of them go unchallenged. When you challenge your assumptions, such as, this has never worked before, so it won't work now, or I'm just not creative, you begin to uncover the blind spots in your thinking. These unconscious beliefs often hold more power over your actions than logic or evidence. Thinking differently starts here. Noticing your mental autopilot, then deliberately interrupting it. It's not about abandoning everything you believe. It's about questioning, testing, and expanding the foundations of how you think. Every breakthrough starts with the decision to ask, what if I'm wrong? If you want to escape the echo chamber of your mind, you need to listen to voices unlike your own. This means seeking out ideas, cultures, philosophies, and opinions that challenge your worldview. When you consider the opposite perspective, especially one you disagree with, you're forced to use parts of your brain that don't normally activate. Empathy increases, flexibility grows, and in many cases you start to realize that even opposing views can contain useful insights. For example, if you're a perfectionist, ask yourself how someone who embraces failure sees the world. If you're logical, ask how a deeply intuitive person might approach the same problem. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about expanding your toolbox by learning how to use theirs. Innovation often comes not from creating something brand new, but by combining two previously disconnected ways of thinking. The question, what if, is the spark that lights the fuse of creative possibility. It bypasses judgment and practicality and opens the door to pure exploration. What if I tried the opposite of what I usually do? What if I had unlimited time or money? What if failure wasn't an option? Or what if it didn't matter? What if I let a child or a stranger solve this problem? These questions aren't meant to be literal. They're meant to loosen your thinking. They take you from fixed mode thinking to imaginative exploration. Einstein once said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Why? Because knowledge tells you what is. Imagination tells you what could be. When you regularly practice what-if thinking, your brain becomes more agile, more adaptive, and better equipped to generate creative, counterintuitive solutions. Reverse thinking is a deliberate strategy that forces your brain to consider ideas that feel counterintuitive or even absurd. The point isn't always to find the final solution, it's to stretch your mind and discover hidden insights that your normal thinking will never produce. Instead of asking, how do I make this process more efficient? Try asking, how could I make this process worse? Oddly enough, identifying how to ruin something often highlights its weaknesses more clearly, which in turn reveals what needs improvement. Reverse thinking also means flipping your assumptions. Instead of asking, how do I get more customers? Ask, what will make a customer leave? Instead of what features should this product have? Ask, what should it not have? This isn't about being negative, it's about reorienting your thinking so that your brain can escape its usual path and explore unexplored mental terrain. Many breakthroughs begin not with a yes, but with a well-placed no. One of the most powerful creativity tools is analogy, comparing your problem to something completely different. The human brain loves metaphor and pattern matching, so when you draw inspiration from unrelated fields, you unlock fresh perspectives. For example, engineers have studied the aerodynamics of birds to design better airplanes. Artists often draw creative energy from nature, architecture, or even mathematics. Business leaders might solve an HR issue by comparing it to sport teams' dynamics. Ask yourself, how is this situation like cooking a meal? What will the musician do in this situation? How does this problem resemble a jungle, a chessboard, or a traffic jam? By looking outside your field or problem domain, you invite creativity in through the side door. The stranger the analogy, the more surprising and often useful the ideas that emerge. Your brain thrives on variety. One of the easiest ways to spark new thinking is to bombard it with fresh, unrelated stimuli. This is known as random input, and it's a proven method used by creative professionals and problem solvers across industries. Here is how it's used. Open a random book or website and read a paragraph. Then ask, how does this relate to my challenge? Watch a documentary on a topic you know nothing about. Talk to someone from a completely different career field. Shuffle a deck of image cards or flip through a magazine. See what visuals jump out and how they might relate metaphorically. The goal isn't to find a perfect match. It's to shake up your neural pathways and let your brain make unusual connections. Random input breaks the pattern, and when the pattern is broken, creativity flows in. When you change how you think, you change what's possible. Thinking differently is like switching from black and white television to full spectrum color. Problems that once felt rigid and limiting suddenly open to multiple angles, fresh interpretations, and novel paths forward. Creativity isn't just about being artistic. It's about generating original ideas that work. And those ideas are often found by looking where others don't, or thinking in ways others won't. Whether it's solving a work challenge, handling a relationship issue, or improving a daily habit, fresh thinking gives you new tools. Consider this: the world's greatest innovations, from the light bulb to the iPhone, weren't discovered by doing more of the same. They were born when someone dared to think differently. So when you practice perspective shifts, reverse thinking, analogies, or what-if exercises, you're not just being clever, you're laying the groundwork for breakthrough creativity. Rigid thinking narrows your vision, openness expands it. When you're willing to entertain different perspectives, even ones you initially resist, you gain access to more data, richer insights, and more flexible responses. You stop trying to force your whole solutions onto new problems and start tailoring your thinking to the situation at hand. This kind of openness improves emotional intelligence. You understand others' viewpoints better. Critical thinking. You evaluate more variables before jumping into conclusions. Collaboration. You listen and adapt in group settings more effectively. In a world that's constantly evolving, your ability to solve problems depends less on what you know and more on how adaptable you are. Flexible thinkers win because they don't get stuck. When you allow your brain to play, explore, and reframe, unexpected ideas emerge. Sometimes it's a small tweak that makes a big difference, like rephrasing a problem. Other times it's a radical shift that turns the entire situation upside down. Either way, the innovation happens in the space you've created by thinking differently. Think about a tech company using game design to improve employee training. A non-profit solving hunger using principles from logistics and e-commerce. A parent resolving conflict with a teen by thinking like a coach instead of a boss. These aren't just aha moments, they are the result of intentional mental flexibility. When you embrace diverse thinking styles, allow curiosity to lead, and view every problem as a creative challenge, you start uncovering ideas that were always possible, just never visible before. Your brain is like a muscle. It gets stronger the more you challenge it. Just like physical fitness requires consistency, mental agility demands regular practice. Brain flips aren't just one-time tricks or creative hacks. They are habits that reshape how you process the world. When you build them into your daily routines, you start rewiring your mind to become more flexible, curious, and innovative by default. Set aside 5 minutes a day to think about a problem backwards. Use metaphor games while commuting or showering. Read one article per week from a topic you know nothing about. The more frequently you flip your thinking, the easier it becomes. Over time, your mind won't just think outside the box. It won't even see the box anymore. It can feel even threatening to examine your own beliefs. But mental growth rarely happens without discomfort. When you ask, why do I believe this? Or what if I'm wrong? You open up the possibility of discovering a better, clearer truth. This doesn't mean abandoning everything you stand for. It means allowing your beliefs to evolve, just like you. Some of the most intelligent minds in history were those who constantly challenged themselves. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." By questioning yourself, you stay sharp. Truth-seeking is not weakness, it's mental courage. Seeing the world differently is not about being quirky or contrarian. It's about being awake to nuance, to complexity, to possibility. It's easy to see what you've always seen. It's safe to assume that your view is complete. But that's not where growth happens. Real growth begins the moment you choose to step out of certainty into curiosity. Try walking a different route and notice what changes. Talk to people with opposing views and actually listen. Explore ideas that don't align with your usual mindset. Each of these small actions expands your cognitive landscape. Over time, they transform your perspective, not just on problems, but on life itself. You begin to think with more depth, empathy, creativity, and wisdom. And that's the ultimate brain flip.